My name's Jasmine Dale, and welcome to the 19th episode of Hearts to Heart. Now, today you'll notice that it's the older generation, guys. You know, we're usually this is presented by my daughter Amoy, and we've decided to sort of swap things around a bit. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce some friends of mine in their respective roles. So, we have Hannah Bird. Hannah is an acting police sergeant for the Northwest BCU. And we have AD, Harrow Safer School Officer. We have Sean Pascal, founder of the Black Wall Street Media. And we have Pastor Lloyd representing faith in the community. Now, one thing you'll understand that, and not forgetting my partner in crime, Lucy Harvey, representing the Hearts of Talent in Manchester. So give it up for Lucy and Manchester. And also, we have Joe here. Joe, this is live, so I'm just going to say how it is. Joe, you've hopped on and you've been invited by Hannah. She's part of the Met crew. So what you guys will realise is that we are having a conversation with the Metropolitan police today. We have Pastor Lloyd. She's going to be asking questions from a faith and community perspective. Myself, as an activist, a black activist in Northwest London, I'm going to be asking questions. And we have Lucy there, that's also going to be asking questions from Manchester. So guys, listen, I'm going to swing this over to Manchester right now. So Lucy, take it away.
Okay. So thank you so much for just taking some time out to, come and chat with us. We think it's so important. We're trying to bridge this gap between community and restore some faith in our police and the whole community system that obviously we've got that's here to support the community. So one of the first questions that I've got for you is what is county lines? What it is? Can you explain for me, Hannah?
Yeah, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to AD, because AD's the Safer Schools Officer, and he's really good at explaining it. So over to you, AD.
Okay. Depending on how much time I've got, what I'll do is I'll give you kind of like a flash preview of what county lines is and how it's all kind of come about. And I think, first of all, to get a handle on how county lines has come about, going back a few years, there's obviously been a demand for illegal drugs, and the drug dealers, if you like, the people running the drugs and selling the drugs. There's been so many people involved in it with London. It's kind of saturated London itself, and the drug dealers were struggling to sort of like pump their drugs out to drug users. Therefore, they've had to kind of like spread out. So what they do is, in a nutshell, is the drug dealer, the person that's kind of running the line, will go up to a town. So they'll pick a specific town or city outside of London. They will target a vulnerable person, and it's usually a drug user, and they will cuckoo their house. So they'll take over the house. So they will basically provide that drug user some Class A drugs or a drug that they're addicted to. In return of, we will take over your house and we will use it as a base to sell our product, to sell our drugs from. The drug dealer will come on back down to London, recruit young people, and once they've recruited those young people, they will send them up to that cuckooed address, to that vulnerable person, but they will send with them an amount of drugs to sell. The dealer will basically manage the phone by telling the drug user, the person that's addicted to drugs, where the house is cuckooed. Give me all your contacts in your phone that take drugs. Give me all their telephone numbers, and I will pump out a message to them that you have drugs at this address for sale. So all these drug users will, in effect, come to this address to buy their drugs. Once a young person has sold the drugs, they will then come back down to London to restock, and so the cycle goes. County line is, in effect, the telephone line that is being used from the main drug dealer in London or any other big city where it's being run from to the other smaller town or smaller city, if that makes sense.
Jasmine?
Yeah, can I just ask a quick question? You use words and terminologies like cuckoo. Why do you use cuckoo?
Do you know, that's a good question. I don't really know. It's just something. It's a terminology that's been used within the police. I think cuckooing is the act of the address being utilised and abused by the drug dealer.
Like a cuckoo clock, you mean? So just in and out, in and out.
Yeah. It is around the bird. That is exactly it. They use that from the bird, a cuckoo. Exactly what you've just said. That is where the terminology comes from.
I think this is really common. Oh, sorry, Jazz.
No, go on.
This is really quite common. I've got friends that live in Cornwall, and obviously Cornwall, you see that, you know, a lot of seaside towns are hit quite hard, and they can charge more once they've got everyone sort of on it. The change in prices from cities to seaside towns, and the amount of people that you see getting into debt in these seaside towns, they've not actually got the facilities within these sort of like little small seaside towns to support the mental health, because of it's nothing they've ever dealt with before. So it means that it has this huge knock-on effect of, you know, the mental health and, you know, the support networks that they're really lacking within that area, because they're quite behind anyway. So obviously, you know, these smaller towns and villages are really quite behind bigger cities in general, just with sort of everything. And you can see how it massively affects, you know, I myself, I've had a friend who I know in Cornwall who has been addicted to drugs, and she's really struggled. And the fact that people are so willing to just feed that need and say, don't worry, you can pay me at the end of the month, don't worry, you can pay, everything can be on tick, as we say. And that's where people get into so much trouble, because then they've got bigger drug dealers that will then come to their home from the city and threaten them and want to take things away from them, and they just prey on the vulnerable, and it's so difficult. So, you know, being able to like champion, you know, people spreading the word to these smaller cities is definitely what we need. It's not just the main towns and cities anymore. It's the problems now so much bigger.
Yeah, you're so right, Lucy. And I think you hit the nail on the head. It's so sad that they're affecting so many vulnerable people, whether it be a vulnerable person being a child, whether it be a vulnerable person being somebody with mental health problems or learning difficulties, or an older vulnerable person. They really are just targeting, you know, so many different people, and it affects communities so badly, and it's sad to see. But something with the Met, we have an operation run called Operation Hirachi, and they basically work with a lot of the county forces to help target the problem. So they are branching out and working with different forces to sort of try and combat county lines, and it's something that's ongoing all the time.
Yeah, I think it's something that can stem back to you know, these smaller like villages and towns also, you know, they lack a lot of the communities lacking aspirations and opportunities as opposed to a bigger city, which means they are effectively a lot more easier to get on board, because there's quite a few people that may feel down or like they're not, you know, they're not feeling fulfilled, whether or not, you know, they're able to gain jobs. Obviously, we know that people have struggled a hell of a lot over COVID, and these seaside towns heavily because of the amount of tourists that they depend on to keep things going. And then obviously when they can't do that and they can't work, they then slip into depression, slip into drug use, and slip into being that vulnerable person that is totally like, you know, exactly what a drug dealer wants.
Well, there's a question that Morgan Williams has actually posed. She says, well, not a question, it's a comment really. This generation glorifies drug taking. It's the new normal from people refusing to pay the IOU drug debt. They forced to now sell jobs to free. This is always a catch-22. So they get caught into this net, and they have no other alternative but to actually just sort of run the game, basically. And it's sad. And you know, one thing I wanted to ask both either Adrian or Hannah, you know, just for the viewers, from what age group does this county line thing start from? You know, I know you said it stems from disabilities and also, but what age group have you actually come across the youngest?
Wow. These kids are they're victims. They're victims, and they're targeted specifically because of their age. And what I know is these young people or these victims, these kids are targeted because they're easy to manipulate. Young people are targeted because they're easy to manipulate. And it will start off perhaps with someone might hang outside like a chicken shop and will wait for a group of school kids to kind of go up to a food shop, and they will look which one's bought food, which one hasn't bought food, and they will target the person that hasn't bought food, because obviously to them it's kind of like, well, that person clearly hasn't got much money, so that person will be targeted on that basis. They will then obviously be bought food. It's simple. It could be just that they've bought a pizza or bought chicken or something along those lines. And as soon as they say, yeah, okay, thank you very much, and eat it, from that point on, they're a victim. They are kind of in debt, and that's how they're roped in. These gang members or these people that are dealing the drugs, at the end of the day, they don't want to pay young people any money for what they're doing. So a lot of the times, in order to keep the cycle going, because obviously a lot of these young people call it that they're trapped, and the way that they're trapped in it is they will be set up. So they will be given drugs, they'll be given money, and then they will be told to go to a specific location, and it will be a setup. They will then get robbed. So someone will be there to remove the drugs from them, to remove the cash from them. So when they go back to the drug dealer and say, look, I've just been robbed, it's kind of like, now you're in debt. You now owe me those drugs, so you're going to have to work for free. Hence how they're entrapped in this cycle. So all these young people, and to be fair, the young kids, the drug users, and the people that are, or the people that are being used for the dresses, you know, the dresser, they're all victims to these people that are just trying to make money from pushing drugs.
So Adrian, would you say that it's everything starts from the home, right? So if there's not enough money at home, not enough attention at home, how the child is attired to go to school, this is a target.
So like I said, young kids will be targeted. They will target people that are less fortunate. So you find a lot of people that are in areas of poverty that will get involved in this, and they're in areas of poverty purely because maybe they're from a single parent background. It might be because they're in care. It might be because their parents or one of the parents is in prison, involved in alcohol or drugs themselves. So these young kids will have so much trauma attached to them already. And unfortunately, these older people will prey on these traumas and say, hey, listen, I'll look out for you. I'll look after you. And, you know, I'll look out for you and I'll give you money to support you and the lifestyle that you want. And that's how they draw them in.
Yeah.
It's something called, there's something called adverse childhood experiences. And it's like Adrian said, people that are affected by a parent having mental health, or a brother or sister in a gang, parents separated. There's a number of adverse childhood experience that people can have, and they're sort of the ones that are quite vulnerable, the children that are quite vulnerable, and you know are pulled into the county lines. For me, I'd say the youngest I've probably dealt with is 11, but I would say as in general they use people as young as 8, you know, sort of, that are not at the age of criminal responsibility, because let's remember these people that are what's the word I'm trying to use, sorry from blank, that are exploiting the children, they don't want to get caught. They're normally over 18. They'll get bigger prison sentence. So the under 18s are easy for them to use, and you know they get a yacht order, or you know it's easy for them to get caught rather than the adult. So yeah, it's really sad.
So what you're saying is that it starts from the home. What shows out from the home is actually detected by
I think it comes from experiences. So not necessarily the home. It can be. So for example, over the last 18 months, I've actually worked with, during my time on my team, young people that are have parents that are key workers. But because those key workers are so busy, either school teachers or nurses, they're not coming in till late. So those children are going out and trying to find the attention from somewhere else, or so I could say I probably spoke with 5 children that are parents are either teachers, nurses in the mental health world of the NHS. So it really can affect anybody. And actually, I've had 2 young people that lived in the northwest BCU in a very nice house, very wealthy area, and actually it was affluent neglect. They weren't getting the attention because their parents were, again, so busy. So it can affect different ends of the spectrum. It goes on experiences, your life experiences, and a child doesn't wake up and become naughty and want to get into trouble. Something's happened in that time for that trigger for this to happen. And I think that's how we police as well within our and we're trying to put it out to police officers is we don't just look at a person, especially from, like, say, for schools perspective, that they're not just a naughty child. There's a reason why that they've gone down this route. Yes, they could be perpetrators, but they are also victims as well somewhere along the line. So it's really looking at the whole package of a person rather than just going, we want to prosecute them. We don't want to, as officers under 18, we want to be able to help them get out of doing what they're doing.
Just before you speak, Sean, I just want to read Morgan Unique Williams says it's definitely peer pressure too. If you don't trap, you're not cool. But boys seem to think if you don't have all the jewelry or nice cars, girls aren't interested in them. I've seen boys risk their life to portray a certain lifestyle, which is true.
Yeah.
Over to you, Sean. You're muted, Sean. Sorry.
Sorry. I was just curious to know what sort of training you officers get in regards to this area of expertise, or whether it's experience led. Do you get offered any sort of training at all?
It depends on the role. So like the basic officers on response team, they would get far less than what we get in a specialized role.
Yeah. Okay. And the as far as your involvement with the kids, do you work with other like social workers and things like that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So the main part of our work is working with partners. We wouldn't be able to do it without other people around us. So the likes of organisation like Hearts of Talent, being able to refer children to be mentored, councils, local authorities, social workers, youth offending teams, we all have to come together and work together, because at the end of the day, it's not one person's issue to get sorted. We have to work together. It has to be that whole approach, because it is a public health problem. County lines, knife crime, it can't just be down to one service. It has to be, we all pull together, which is why I love what we're doing tonight, because having these open conversations, and bringing us all together to talk about it, and share ideas of what we're doing in different areas. So talking to people from Manchester, this is amazing, and it is about working together 100%.
It really is. And I'd like to add in here, we did there was documentaries done obviously on like the likes of BBC, and I actually got to do a show with a guy called Matthew, who was openly a recovered gang leader. And during obviously being on radio, he openly admitted how much he would groom young boys, to a point where, I know obviously we say it can start at home, but I also do believe that, like Morgan has mentioned here, there's an element that is totally glorified, and unless you are trapping or doing something, you're not cool. And it's like, actually, there's a lot of children and younger boys that are from really well brought up backgrounds with, you know, a mum and dad who work immensely hard, and this child has everything that they could possibly want, but yet they think that they need to go and trap, or they need to go and sell drugs, and they've already got Gucci trainers on the feet, or they've already got all of these brands that they want to wear and stuff like that. But I think it, you know, it can stem a lot back to music. I work obviously in the radio sector, as you know, some of you well know, and it is, you know, I always say it's so important for us to filter what it is that we deem as being okay. Like, even the mainstream media, why on earth we've got the likes of, you know, Cardi B, great, yeah, she's amazing, but why are we talking about, you know, WAP on mainstream daytime television? For my 10-year-old daughter to go, what does WAP mean, mum? And it's like, well, you know, it's the fact that obviously women are sexualized, the way obviously they're referred to in music. You know, we should be educating our young men on how to obviously treat women, and educating our young women on what is acceptable, and what, you know, having that self-respect, having that, you know, that pride to know about self-worth, self-confidence, and not being able to be steered away from that at that vulnerability, being able to recognize when someone is saying, you know, I can give you better. Like Matthew openly spoke about how he would see boys in the street that didn't have the best trainers on. A key thing is to look at the footwear. Now, if they've not got good trainers on the feet, it's a case of saying, oh mate, your mum don't love you. What's she letting you roll around in them for? She don't love you. Come with me, I'll look after you. And he openly said that this is what he did. This was his pattern of how he worked. He would then obviously go and buy a pair of trainers for this lad and make him feel like he was part of this team, this family, as they would like to see. But this family means nothing and taken in by the police. They don't know. So again, you know, Morgan's saying obviously it's glorified. There's a lot that we need to do in terms of, you know, creating these filters amongst social media, amongst our networks, and being able to say what is okay, what do we want our children to see growing up. And you know, what they see now is nothing of what I seen as a young child, even on the likes of, you know, MTV Base. You know, it was nothing that had any sort of relation to drugs or sex or any of those things was in daytime exposure.
I think there's a question that Phil has actually put here, and that is thrown at the police officers.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, actually, you know, around the music, we get on the Northwest BCU, we have a lot of gangs. I think in total, I may be wrong, I think there's about 24 gangs on our BCU between Barnet, Harrow and Brent. And we, you know, in Brent alone, there's conflict between two gangs, and it's often around music and what's been put out there, and it has created stabbings, shootings, murders, and it's sickening, you know. But what I would say is, as police officers, we do have specially trained police officers that do write statements around the music and the lyrics that come in, and they put them into sort of layman's terms, and they're used. And we have our intelligence systems where we feed this information to our gangs units, our operachi. So, you know, it is being like listened to by police officers. It's just not out there to the public for us to sort of say as such, but we do work on around that.
So it's great that you do that. Yeah.
Is that what they call dog whistle like music?
Sorry, Jasmine. Is
that what they call dog whistle music? Like in a song, there is a message for a gang or so, I'm going to get you and so forth. Is that what they listen? Is that what the police listen to? Like,
yeah, they listen to, and yeah, they'll listen to every single lyric, and they will, if they're goading another gang, any street names that they might say, you know, anything. It will be a whole song, and they will translate it basically.
I think the thing is as well that it's almost like, as much as they think the dead clued up and all that kind of thing, how stupid are you sort of handing yourself in by telling the police pretty much what you're going to do? That is literal evidence there, because you're already telling everybody else what your plan is. So that's not a criminal mastermind that you seem to think you are, or that you're representing as a gang. If anything, it's just plain right stupid. Like, it's just silly.
And Morgan, you've lost 12 friends this year due to knife crime.
Wow.
You know, this is just this is why we are here today, to try our best, because we can only try to stop, you know, to this horrendous. It's like an epidemic, isn't it? It's just.
It is. So I'm really sorry to hear that as well, Morgan. That's so sad, and I'm sorry to, you know, hear that you've got no grief sort of left in you. But if you do need any help with any of that or services, you know, and you're in the London area, please reach out to Jasmine to get our details, because we do want to help, you know, victims of, you know, and we've got lots of contacts with victim support to be able to help people like yourselves that have gone through, you know, losing friends, and we can point you to those agencies. So please don't suffer in silence.
Yeah.
And even if you think you're not affected right now, you may think you're not affected right now, and you may think you have become desensitized to it, but further along down the line, without even knowing, you'll become unconscious to those, you know, emotions and those feelings. And when they do start to be triggered, they will affect, you know, these people going along in further life. And it doesn't affect them, it'll affect their children. And we need to break that cycle.
Absolutely, yeah. Phil has asked the questions. How many are arrested?
What do you mean? How many arrested from the gang music?
From gang music,
I couldn't give you figures, but if the music creates violence and then an offence is committed, they would be able to use that as evidence from the gang expert witness statement that they would get. So I haven't got figures off the top of my head, but I know we do use them on a regular basis, and they are used in court, and they're used for things like gang injunctions as well, which are civil orders against gang members. So if they're on YouTube, you know, saying these lyrics, you know, we can put it into a statement, go to the court and say, look, these people are in a gang, we need to, you know, action what they're doing. Let's get an order that they can't be in a certain area, they can't go on social media, they can't, you know, so there's lots of things we can do as, you know, police officers.
So is that taking away a job from these people, from the perpetrators, the rappers and so forth? It's taking away a job, isn't it? Because they feel that this sort of music is what the younger generation want to hear. But yet again, it's a trap. So it's taking it. So it's a weird situation, because you're taking away somebody's job, okay? But yet again, the job that they're doing is not helping the community. It's actually capturing the community, those children, to actually become.
And I think that's the thing, Jasmine, it's the bigger picture around it all, isn't it? You know, like you've just said there, you know, that it is a job for that person, but there's a lots of positive things that you can say within a community, rather than hammering another postcode area and saying you want to kill them or their family or other people, you know. And I think us putting that out for our kids to listen to is just, you know, is it acceptable? For me, no, I wouldn't want my kids to listen to it. And I think, you know, for us being police officers, we have to look at the bigger picture and the violence and the murders that are caused and the trauma that's caused to all those people around from just one song going onto YouTube. And it could have ripple effects, you know, for communities. You know, you have a shooting of a young female and a 2-year-old, and you've got people that witness that. You know, that doesn't just affect the community, that affects police officers, that affects the children, wider community. It's awful, you know. So yeah,
Yeah, we've got Morgan who said, "Do you think YouTube should start censor music? Is there any way to collab with the police and YouTube? Is this something that you guys can do, or you currently do already?"
Yeah, so we can get things taken off of and social media platforms, absolutely, and that is something that we do. I don't know what it's called, but absolutely, if something goes out there, as if a known gang member is doing an unlicensed music event or something like that, or an event, and we feel like that there's going to be violence and that, we have the power to close those events down, which again seems unfair to some people, but we have to think of the bigger picture in what's going to, the violence is going to be caused from that.
Yeah, I think everyone needs to work together in a sense that obviously some people will feel sort of robbed when it comes to being closed down, because there's many people within the music industry that will conduct safe environments and safe events that go on, that then obviously someone, you know, with a violent history or a criminal background will then think that they can come and get involved and obviously spoil it for others. But what I'd like to know, Hannah, is how can, you know, for all of our listeners, how can us as a community support you as police officers to, you know, prevent some of these things from happening? I know obviously you just mentioned that you can take things down. Is it a case of, you know, reporting things anonymously more and
yeah.
You know,
I would say, so we've got two systems for under 18s: Fearless, which is an anonymous reporting system, which is part of Crime Stoppers, and you've got Crime Stoppers as well. You can use both, either or. If you don't want to put your name to something, alternatively, you can put your name to it 100%, you know, 101 if there's an emergency, 999, but please do report it to us, because if we don't know about it, we can't do anything about it as police officers, and we have to start working together to make the community safe. And that's, yeah, that would be the main message, I would say. And I know what people are worried about, the term snitching, but actually, you know, if you're going to save someone's life, you know, I don't mind being called a snitch.
I think the thing is, we need to take away that stereotype and that
100%.
stigma that is attached to snitching, because of there's being a snitch and tattletaling, but then there's being a truth speaker and speaking truth and honesty for the general, you know, safety, health and well-being of other human beings and people around you. And I think as a human, we have a duty of care to other human beings who are in danger. Like, it would, I know how traumatized and how upset I'd feel if my children were to be, and I say this because of last year I experienced it. I was in our local shop and there was a group of girls that was in the shop, and they were plotting against another girl, and they'd got a girl, one of their friends, or the mutual friend, to go and get the girl to come to the shop, and the three of them were going to attack this girl outside, and they were sort of laughing about it in the queue. And now obviously I was like, you're not going to do that, and I had to speak up and say, you're not going to do that, and I didn't agree with it. And it turned out, you know, she was a local girl. She was in, you know, one of my brother's years at school, and to have three girls gang up on this girl, this girl doesn't look really, you know, I mean, she might have had a bit of a gob on her, but she's so small and petite. And I know obviously sometimes we say it's not to do with size, but she didn't need three girls to take her down, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? It was really awful.
Absolutely. We had,
and it turned out that the parent of the girls who was, you know, plotting this, you know, then sort of come for me and was like, who's told my daughter off? And I'm like, wait a minute, actually, this isn't appropriate. Well, and it's hard because of that parent was then supporting the fact that, you know, her daughter needed to smack this other girl one. And I'm like, what are we teaching our children? What are we deeming to be okay? Because if my daughter was at the shop and she was lured to the shop by people who she thought was her friend or one person who she thought was her friend to then meet up with other people, and not one adult or not one member of the community stopped that, I would be traumatized, because of these are young children who actually, they don't know what the world is like yet, and they are, as much as they think they know everything, they don't. And it's just so difficult to obviously watch the younger generation think that this is okay and that's the way you can resolve things. And it's like, no, you can't do that. It's such a shame that, you know, back when I was younger, it used to be just boys that got jumped, you know, and it still isn't nice that boys were jumped, but now girls are as well. And girls now have that whole, you know, it's like maybe that masculine energy where they feel the need to be, you know, this sort of big I am person. And it's like, in order to feel equal to a male, when actually, you know, if we can educate that little bit better, we can have a much better environment to live in, to work in, and a better community to be a part of, if we just come together and say, this is not acceptable and we don't accept this. If you can't be a good member of our community, then you can't be here. And the more we stand together and stop being afraid and stop living in fear of, you know, these gangs. Some of these are, you know, 16, 17-year-old boys that have been petrol bombing like flats and stuff around our area. And it's not acceptable that people have lived in fear of being a snitch. But you don't have to, you know, you don't have to tell anyone. If you know something, no one has to know that you know that. You could have seen it and no one's seen that you've seen it, and you can report that and feel safe, and knowing that you could have saved someone or prevented someone from losing their son, their brother, their daughter. Do you know what I mean? And surely that has got to be so much more of a better feeling than to have to go to sleep at night knowing that you know something that someone's going to do that is bad.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And just to your point around the girls and stuff, you know, and I saw a comment about somebody had put on the chat that, you know, one of his goddaughter, I think, got attacked by a group of girls. And it is, you know, it is happening. It's, you know, girls are just as getting in just as much trouble as boys are, and it's frightening. But it's something, again, that we are working on as a BCU. My colleague Jo, who is an engagement and diversion officer, she is specifically concentrating on working with girls that are being targeted by gangs or potentially being in a gang, and trying to work on how we can engage with them and stop them from doing what they're doing. Because, you know, it could be that going out committing knife point robberies, you know, and at 12 years old going out with their older sister that's a 17-year-old committing a knife point robbery. You know, it's horrendous, and the trauma that 12-year-old's seeing, but it is happening. You're right, but it is something that we are really working on, and we're aware of it as well. You know, it's not just young males that are affected by county lines, gangs, violence. It is females as well.
And this is a conversation that we really need to be having as well, because I think sometimes the females are left out of this. You know, we need to be talking about the females. We need to be educating them and letting people be aware that there's some females that are trapped. They're beaten. They're you know, this conversation needs to be had. And I don't know if that's going to be a part 2, but I really do believe that we need to cover that. It really does. 100%. There's a saying that states that it takes a village to raise a child. And, you know, in that village, we have different organizations. We have Faith and Community, because I'm going to throw over to Sean. I'm going to come right back to you, but I'm going to throw over to Pastor Loy, because Pastor Loy has been a pastor for quite a few years, and you know the streets, Pastor Loy, because you're street Pastor Loy. You know what's going on with these, whether it's girls or boys. You know that there are issues with these girls, and they need some sort of direction. So how do you feel that Faith is able to correct and point these younger generations into the right directions? How do you feel? I'm just throwing it out there. I'm a Christian. I know what I know, but I'm throwing it at you as street Pastor Loy.
Well, you see, we didn't realize society diversity is moving hell of a fast more than we realize. What I was doing in my younger day is nothing compared to what I'm seeing. That's why I feel it for the police, because I do feel they're out of date on something. I give thanks for all what each person is saying on the platform, but what it is the brokenness, and it is starting from home. And we need to really come as a community, as every leader, not just the police, but government and the law, the solicitors, everybody involved, and the church, because everybody has a part to play in this, right? And you can see, no matter what you are doing, nothing is working. That means it's showing us right now we're out of date, and we need to come real and get down to the bottom of all these issues that we are facing. Every young person should not be going through this, and we can't blame them for everything. But the way society has gone, in our time, from when I was born in the 60s, now we're in the 2021, it's a different ball game. So you got social network has been the biggest game plan all the time. Education is another big game plan as well. We need to educate our young people, and we need to stand up and speak the truth. And some laws, it's open that these drug dealers can use our young people to go on the road and be used by drug people. And that's because if we're not educating our young people at home, we can't expect the police to do everything, because you've got so much to do. But parents have to take some responsibility. Now there's an education system. Is it out of date? Do we need to put some things into date? Is the church out of date? Do we need to put some things into up to date? Because I'm telling you, we are moving in a different ball game altogether. And no matter what we're doing, nothing is working until the whole community comes together and say, right, enough is enough. Let's lay it all on the table, and let's just hear what everybody has to say, because nothing is happening, is changing. We have to educate our people because they're young. They're not ready for this work. I'm not ready. You know what hurts me more than anything is seeing young people losing their life for meaner things, that material thing, money. That is not what they need. They need love. They need care. And we need to show them that. We need to put something in place for them to be educated, something rewarding that they can show their talent in a way. That's why I love the Heart of Talent, because it needs to bring everybody to educate. Now, many might not like what I say, but I speak the truth because I'm a mother. I've got daughters. When they go out, I want them to be better. Thank God they have all grown up and made something of themselves. But not every parent is fortunate. Not every parent is wealthy and rich. We have to look at the laws and everything. What is blocking the police from doing their work? Educate the police, train them, train the churches as well, because everybody needs to be trained, because we are way behind. We are way behind. It's time for us to move forward and just sit down and say, right, why is our young girls in these gangs? Because they've been told they're pretty, they look so beautiful, and they get trapped into a lane. Now, when you see young girls, to what I've seen, and they get bullied, some of them get sexually abused, they can't go home and tell their parents. But there should be some other organization there to help them out, to be able to speak confident. But a lot of our young people is not speaking confident. They cannot trust the police. And I'm going to be honest on that, because they don't want to be informed, because what happens? More trouble comes in the family home. Family gets wiped out. These young children of today are fearless. They will come in the hospital. They don't care if they just stabbed that person. They're coming in that hospital fearless, and they will finish off their work. And this is what we are seeing of today. They are coming in. They don't care if it's a funeral. They will come in and take over the funeral where families are mourning. I have witnessed this. And I'm saying, I've had enough. I don't know what else can I do but just be bold and say, you know what? Until we open our eyes and say enough is enough as a community, nothing is going to change.
Yeah.
Nothing is going to change.
Yeah.
We can blame each other person, but all of us have to take the blame. Nobody is better than another person. We are the
100%.
failure. We are the failures for the community. Don't matter what position you are in. It's time now we rise up as a community and let's get our house in order. And that's all I'm saying.
I think the lack of support, obviously, for families as well. We have a huge, obviously, like Morgan has commented here, she says, you know, she's 20. We don't have anything anymore. There's no more youth clubs, no more free sports clubs. People are bored, looking for a sense of belonging. I think a problem within many communities now is that children and young people, they aren't given anything to aspire to. They just think they are like born into this society that they are part of, and that once they have committed a crime, they are just told they are no good, that you know, you're not going to do anything, you're not going to make anything of your life. And these are all affirmations that you are putting into someone, and then you're not going to get anything out of them. But to be able to show the youth that the world is a huge place, and your abilities are as high as you want to make them. You know, you can achieve anything if you just put your mind to it. And I think we definitely need to do something in a sense of having community centres back, having that support for parents to be able to liaise with youth workers to say, you know, my child's really, you know, been improving at home since they've been coming to a club, since they've been doing something that they enjoy, that they like to do, and they are getting better at it, which means we can now look at, you know, job opportunities in that sector. The creative industry is absolutely booming at the minute, and I mean booming to a point where anybody can make anything and put it online and gain followers, gain traction, gain funding. And the problem that we have is that when it comes to drug dealers and, you know, criminals, they have this funding to be able to get into this music industry because they can pay a really good videographer to make an absolutely brilliant, you know, video. They can pay a great producer to mix and master and auto-tune them to anything. And that track can sell, and that track can gain them that following, and then they have that platform to talk and promote whatever it is that they want to do. And that's the issue that we've got.
Well, I tell you something, right? The Hearts of Talent, we are doing pretty well, but we do need the support. We are genuine. This is a passion. We want to see our youth aspire to better things. We want to give them employability. You know, we want you to follow us. We want you to help us to get funding to make this thing worldwide, because we know knife crime, county lines, doesn't just exist in London or England. It's all over the place. So we want to capture every area, so that there's no child that's left sort of unhelped. We are here to help. Sean, I'm going to swing over to you because you have an organisation called the Black Wall Street Media. And I know that you are there to actually help, support, and do all sorts of things in the community. So can we hear a bit about you? You're muted, Sean.
Yes. Hi, thanks. Yeah, Black Wall Street Media. It's a community media company. It's a global community where people who feel they don't have a voice can be heard, where we can solve our issues together. We put out information that you can utilize to uplift you in order to we can collaborate. It's a platform for the community where we can showcase all the talent we have, and we don't have to wait for mainstream. The idea behind it is when it does become profitable, that money will go back into the community. So instead of selling off our talent and handing it over to big corporations that put very little back into society, this is a way of ensuring that that talent is utilized, and the benefits are put back into the community to bring other people behind them at the same time. And yeah, it's been hugely successful, and I've got many more plans for it. And I hope for the younger generation to take it and shape it to what it can be. But I just felt that there were so many organizations doing so much good work in the UK in particular, but because they're working in silos, it's often difficult to know that they're out there or where to find them. So I'm trying to bring it all to one place, so we can collaborate as well and pull our resources together. But a lot of people told me, when I first pitched the idea, think small, don't, it can't be done, this, that, and the other. And it was passion that drove me to create this. I hate whenever people tell me I can't do something, it just makes me more determined. It really does.
Yes, sure.
I stop getting angry, I get focused, and you want to get on the journey with me, fine. If that's great. If you don't, that's fine too. But what I'm trying to say is, don't sit there and point the finger and blame other people. Take a look at yourself. There are things you can do, no matter how small. I'm a parent governor as well. Really important role. We need more parent governors. I can't do enough. There's not enough hours in the day for the things I want to do, but I can't do it on my own. I've got kids, and I'm not going to, whilst I'm here, I'm going to do what I can.
Yeah.
For them, for the next generation, because people did it for me. That's why I'm here talking to you now. So we have a responsibility to keep this going, and do what we can.
We all have our positions. We all sit in our rightful positions. It's what we do within our positions that's what counts. Sitting on this platform with the Met, Lucy in Manchester, Pastor Lloyd there, Sean, you're there. This is what this is about. We've pulled resources together. We've pulled ourselves together today. We could have been doing all sorts of different things, but you know what? We came together today to say, right, this is enough. We've decided to work with the Met. Some people will say, why are you doing that? You're a sellout. It's not being sellout. If you're not in something, you can't do it.
Can I just add, Jasmine? Police officers get a really hard time, but you have to understand. I mean, just listen to Hannah. Just listen to Adrian. They're passionate about and Joe. Sorry, they're passionate about what they do. This isn't just a job for them. You can go out and get any job. But this is how you make a difference.
That's right.
And
you have to get involved.
John, we need to just make a point of just saying thank you so much to Hannah, Joe, and Adrian, because we know that obviously being part of the police force and stuff, there's been so many people that I have spoke to within the police, and they can be hesitant on what it is in having this conversation, and we just have to thank you for actually trusting in us as as a campaign, as a project. We're here for the community, and we're here to obviously work with you guys to make our community a better place.
And that's so true. We just need support.
I think Joe wants to say something.
Yeah, sorry.
Joe's got
Sorry, can I just come in on something that Sean said? So I work with a lot of young people. On average, I see about 4 or 5 different young people in a day. And I think the important thing to remember is that not everybody's going to fit the model. And a lot of these people are so used to professionals coming into their lives each week for like an hour time slot or a 2-hour time slot. And I think it's important to realise that some kids will only want 10 minutes and some kids will want 4 hours. And they won't always want to talk in their house. They won't always want to talk in their school. Sometimes they want to go for an ice cream or a walk in the park or just to drive around. And I think it's really important to remember that each child is an individual and they've all got their own circumstances, and not one model is going to fit everybody.
Definitely. And I think what Joe just said there, you know, and following on what from you've said, Lucy and Jasmine and Sean, this isn't just you know, it's not just a job to us. We want to do this job because we want to make a difference. We genuinely care, you know, we genuinely care about these young people that we're working with, and we want to make their lives better. You know, none of us are working right now. We've come onto the call because we want to make a difference. We want to help, and you know that's kind of us, really. And you know, and I'm really grateful that you've given us this chance to come on and speak to you tonight as well. Well, all of us are. So thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to work with you guys.
Thank you. We have about a few minutes left, and for me, this is my second time doing this podcast, you know, because my daughter usually is the one that has her flair around the place. But for me, this has just been an amazing conversation. And I think these conversations needs to be more. We need to have this a lot more often, you know, because there are questions that people have to ask the Met, and maybe feel a bit fearful in doing so. If you're not open, because it's a two-way conversation. It's not enforcement, it's engagement. And that's what you're doing today, you guys. You're engaging with us. So we're able to now to say, right, you know, I've had this engaging conversation with the Met. Now I can take that engaging conversation to my community and say, right, you know what, this is what's happening. These people have a passion about saving lives rather than enforcing. It's about saving, it's about engaging. These are the words that they like to hear rather than the enforcement. And I know that you have to enforce on certain situations. However, you know that some certain individuals on the Met, they actually abuse that position. We know that. There's all sorts of people. It's like a chocolate box, isn't it? There's so many different chocolates to pick, but you pick one. So for yourselves in the Met, you've chosen to be yourself, Hannah and Adrian and Joe. You have chosen to be people of passion, people of love, people of care, people that want to save. And that's what it's about. And that's why we are happy to work alongside you people, because we know that there is care, there is genuine care. And that's what the Hearts of Talent is about. The talent is within the heart. And as long as you can see somebody's heart, you can take them to where they need to go. And that's what this.
And can we just look at these comments? Like, oh my God, look at how positive these comments are. Morgan's put 100%. It's nice and reassuring that you don't paint everyone with the same brush, and you understand it's more than just being young and dumb. It's actually a mental issue. Thank you so much. I think this is the most understanding professionals I have listened to, and fantastic and so needed together. With
that makes me really, really emotional. Thank you. Yeah. That's lovely. Really lovely.
It is. So
it's right.
This is fantastic. I am over the moon. Lucy, you're a star, absolute star. Manchester, here we come.
Not just Manchester. We're going for Birmingham. We're going for Liverpool. Literally, this is just the beginning, and hopefully in the next coming months we can get this part 2 going, and maybe we can even have that whole progress and catch up of, obviously this is where we started in part 1 and we've gone away. I know I'm going to go away from this now and be able to have my little mind working on what can we do next and how can we all work together that little bit more to make this better, and then we can catch up with each other on a part 2 and see how far we've come.
And Morgan, I actually do want to speak to you. I want to get you on this show because you have been really inundating us, and we're happy about that. That's what it's about. Yeah. That's what it's about. So, without further ado, Hearts of Talent has released its first track. I don't know what you're going to do, but we are going to do it right. That's perfect, isn't it? So, I know we're going to be signing out with Backtrack. And once again, thank you all for coming in. It's been a pleasure. Joe, Hannah, Adrian, Sean, and Street Pastor Lloyd, and Lucy in Manchester. Next week will be greater. I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to do it right.
Going to do it right.
Anyway, Amoy, take it away.
I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're gonna do it right. Everybody stand in line. We're gonna put up a fight. We're gonna do it right. Alright, say I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're gonna do it right. Everybody stand in line. We're gonna put up a fight if we're gonna do it right. Time to show the world we're enough, yeah. Elevate your soul, take it higher, yeah. Tell us how we make that change. Just look at the man in the mirror, yeah. They bring us in the one, show them how it's done. Blessings overcome, higher power, yeah. Tell us how we make that change. All together, together. So join our hands together. Just lift up the world tonight. This moment can last forever. You join your heart with mine.
Fighting all these battles and I'm ready for the war. I've got this crazy feeling, never been here before. I've gone through all the trials and expecting tribulations. I'm on the front line cause I'm ready in my station.
I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're gonna do it right. Everybody stand in line. We're gonna put up a fight if we're gonna do it right. Alright. I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're gonna do it right. Everybody stand in line. We're gonna put up a fight if we're gonna do it right. Alright.
Yeah. The hardest challenge when you got a heart of talent, but the world keeps telling you that you can't start or manage. Tries throwing different hurdles just to see you gallop and the doors lock. You think you got the key but need an Allen. You're not a locksmith, top tip, it doesn't matter. Gotta keep the heart pure, disregard the malice. Even if they're hungry for a win, they didn't know that you were famished. Stay on different things cause you've got a whole different palette. Running for what you want despite any chatter. Spur yourself on for trophies. Don't be embarrassed when you hit the bridge for what you want. Remember what you did. Home is in your heart. Crystallize that palace. When you get your principles, make sure they're hammered down to the ground so they will never scatter in the wind, and I'm sure you will win. Keep yourself ahead without any other capping ladder.
I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're gonna do it right. Everybody stand in line. We're gonna put up a fight if we're gonna do it right. Alright. I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're gonna do it right. Everybody stand in line. We're gonna put up a fight if we're gonna do it right. Alright. So join our hands together. Together we can make a change. So join our hands together. Everything will be okay. So join our hands together. Raise our hands up to the sky. So join our hands together. Let's lift up the world tonight. I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're gonna do it right. Everybody stand in line. We're gonna put up a fight if we're gonna do it right. Alright. I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're gonna do it right. Everybody stand in line. We're gonna put up a fight if we're gonna do it right. Alright. I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're gonna do it right. Everybody stand in line. We're gonna put up a fight if we're gonna do it right. Alright. I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're gonna do it right. Everybody stand in line. We're gonna put up a fight if we're gonna do it right. Alright.
Weren't that good?
Amazing. Amazing.
Awesome.
Love that track. Love that track.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Could you hear me singing along? Was it still live?
Oh God, I was singing as
So
well.
much. Oh, we're still live. Thank you so much, Morgan. I thought we were behind. That's right, Phil. I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to do it right. We have to work together. It's collective workmanship, isn't it? That's what makes it. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to make it happen.
Team. Together, everyone achieves more.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. It's collective thinking.
That's right. That's right. Guys, thank you so much. And
It's been an absolute
Yeah, it's been a pleasure meeting you all.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Been a brilliant evening. Really
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
guys.
like, share, and subscribe. Share it like you're sharing food, my dears. Make sure you do.
Yeah.
We'll be back. Part 2. God bless. Take
100%.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Be safe.